House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is weighing in on President Biden's handling of Afghanistan. She's also looking ahead to next month's recall election in California, saying she does not foresee working with a Republican governor. CBS San Francisco's Betty Yu has more from their exclusive interview.
In an exclusive KPIX5 interview, Speaker Nancy Pelosi commended President Biden for his strong and decisive action in Afghanistan, adding that withdrawing was the right thing to do.
We should have been out of Afghanistan a while back, but now we are, unfortunately, one of the possibilities was that it would be in disarray as it is, but that has to be corrected.
I personally believe that it was not handled correctly. I believe that the people of Afghanistan, and especially the women, are going to definitely pay for that. But I do not believe that it was solely Biden's fault.
We sent the military over there for how many, 20 years, and they had a chance to succeed and do what they were trying to do, and they couldn't do it. So I think 20 years is long enough.
The speaker also weighed in on the possibility of a national mask and vaccine mandate.
Well, we don't have that kind of, shall we say, enforcement, but we should have moral suasion.
And as for the recall effort in California, Pelosi said Governor Gavin Newsom has been a great governor. A CBS California opinion poll shows Newsom with a thin advantage in the recall.
We do have to get more enthusiastic about turning out the vote, and that is and the governor's making a tour right now, calling attention to the fact that voting has already started.
I don't support the recall. And what did he do wrong? I mean, if you told me that he killed somebody or I don't know, did something horrible, I'd say, okay, let's recall him.
This is a strong blue state, and the fact that he's already here, it bodes well, or not so well, for the Democrats nationally.
That was Betty Yu from our San Francisco station, KPIX, reporting. There's another gubernatorial recall debate Thursday. California Assemblyman Kevin Kiley is participating. He represents the state's 6th district in the Sacramento suburbs. He's a Republican running in the gubernatorial recall election and joins us now. Assemblyman, thanks very much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So what are some of the points that you hope to drive home in your next debate on Thursday, and what would be your top priorities as governor?
Well, the points that I hope to drive home is that California right now has a golden opportunity to set our state on a whole new course. You know, we have been declining as a state for many years. We lead the nation in all the wrong ways when it comes to homelessness, when it comes to poverty and inequality and failing public schools and crumbling infrastructure. And the reason for that is that our state government is fundamentally broken. I've seen that in my 5 years in the legislature. What's broken is political corruption. We have a political class in California that is entirely controlled by lobbyists and special interests. And Gavin Newsom epitomizes that. So I think that by removing him from office, we can turn the page on this whole era of corruption in California. We can say the era of corruption is over, and we can restore the idea of government by the people. We can restore integrity to state government. And then we can start to solve all of the problems that are beleaguering our state, whether that's rising crime rates, whether it's homelessness, whether it's the cost of living that's sending so many people to other states, whether it's providing actual school choice and meaningful education reform. So I think that, though, is the most important thing, is having a cultural change where we actually have elected officials who serve the people that we're elected to represent.
So the election is less than a month away. How are you campaigning as early voting gets underway?
Well, I'm campaigning at a pretty rapid pace because it's a very short campaign at this point. Ballots are reaching people as we speak, and we got a big state here in California. So I'm crisscrossing the state every day, reaching as many voters as possible, and really getting the word out that, number one, we need fundamental change in California, and that removing Gavin Newsom is our opportunity to do it, and that, number two, having spent 5 years in the legislature, I'll be prepared starting on day one to answer the call for fundamental change that this recall represents, with tangible reforms at our Capitol and a new direction for California. And it's really important because, they've delayed this recall so long that now it's actually fairly close to our next election in 2022. And so the new governor is going to really need to move rapidly to set the state on a new course. And so that voters then in 2022 will face a real choice. Do we want to continue on this new direction, or do we want to go back to the way things were? And I think that if I'm elected, they'll see real meaningful improvements in the quality of life in California, and will want to continue on that course.
So on Tuesday, you tweeted this, quote, "I will continue to make the case against Gavin Newsom, not against other candidates to replace him." What do you mean by this?
Well, a recall is really distinctive the way it works here in California. It's not like a regular election. In a regular election, the other candidates on the ballot, they're just your opponents, pure and simple. Whereas in a recall, there are two questions on the ballot. So the first question is just a referendum on Gavin Newsom. It's a vote of no confidence. Yes or no. Do you want to recall him? Do you want to remove him as the governor of California? And it's only if over 50% of voters answer yes to that the results on the second question of replacement candidates actually matter. And so all of us who are running to replace Newsom, we share the common goal of getting him out of office, of getting a majority of voters to vote to remove him. If that doesn't happen, then none of us is going to win. And so I am aiming all of my fire at Gavin Newsom. I am drawing all of my contrasts with Gavin Newsom and trying to show how I would lead the state in a fundamentally different direction. And I happen to think it's whoever draws that contrast best, whoever shows that they will be the opposite of the corruption that Newsom represents, that they will bring integrity to our state government, that they'll get us back to basics where the government does the things government is actually supposed to do. That'll be the person that rises to the top on the second question.
You are one of a number of Republicans running. What distinguishes you from the other Republican candidates in this contest?
Well, I again say that I am not primarily drawing my contrasts with the other candidates. I'm drawing my contrast with Gavin Newsom. And I think that, I am the person who will be the most different from Gavin Newsom. I've spent 5 years in the legislature, and I believe I'm the only candidate in the race who has served at the state level. So I've seen exactly how dysfunctional and corrupted our state legislature is. I know exactly how broken our state government is. And so I know the steps I need to take on day one to get us moving in a different direction, which again is going to be very important because of the short time frame we have here. I'll also be able to sort of throw down the gauntlet to our legislature, knowing how the legislature works, to say you need to work with me immediately to pass major reforms in California on the key challenges facing our state: the cost of living, homelessness, rising crime rates, certainly our failing public schools. And if you don't, if you choose to fail to address these problems, as has been the way at our state capitol for far too long, then with the other election around the corner in 2022, I'd say, look, I'm going to take the issue to voters again. You see, having spent 5 years in the legislature, I know the one thing that our politicians respond to is political pressure, the fear of losing their job. And if they've just seen the governor lose his job, then there will be a real opportunity to make the sort of progress that has eluded us for many, many years in California.
All right, September 14th, Election Day, just around the corner. Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, thanks very much for your time.
You bet. Thanks for having me.